All right, positive energy all the time. Let's just get straight to it. Here we go again. These conversations do irritate me. I'm going to try to pull it off without getting too frustrated. I feel like, okay, I've been doing this for a while. And certain things is kind of my responsibility when it comes to the community and issues like that. When you talk about somebody like Professor James Smalls, who's been around for a while. He was born in 1945. I was born in 1958. So I would be basically his first generation student. Basically. When I was born, he's 13 years old. Seven years later, he's 20. I'm 7. By the time he gets 30, I'm 17. And when I start coming into my blackness, he's well rooted into the culture. But he got a problem. And the problem is he's not no match for me over here. Me versus Smalls, he'll get chewed up like bubble gum. Although I'm a student of the Malcolms and all of them, I'm a very formidable student. I'm not really nobody to really play with when it comes to this. And I'll eat him like lunch. Straight up. Like a vegan candy bar. Because his information is outdated and trash. Just like I said about SETI. You see, let me tell you something. Then we're going to get into it. It takes a certain type of person. You have to really love knowledge to study and check out a certain ideology for many years and be willing to change. A lot of scholars, they're what we call stuck on stupid. Because they have been pushing something for so long, they refuse to update their computer system. They don't update their information. Yeah, he was. He was. And the reason is because he spent his whole life in Pan-Africanism. Okay? If I'm 67, he's 80. He spent a good 60 years pushing Pan-Africanism. And many of these brothers, they hate the fact that their information turned out to be worthless. Pan-Africanism, in terms of foundational Black Americans, has turned out to be worthless. Now, the whole concept of Pan-Africanism was misguided because we're in the West and we looked at the continent of Africa, and the Pan-Africanism comes based off of the continent of Africa. It's off of the mentality that you look at Africa as one place. But the reality is Africa is not one place. That Nigeria is Nigeria, Ethiopia is Ethiopia, and there is really no Africa. There's only Africa in terms of a continent, but as terms of a people, there really is no such things as Africans. Ethiopians are Ethiopians. Nigerians are Nigerians. And people like Dr. Small's information is outdated because he wants us to be Africans, but Nigerians are not Africans. Ethiopians don't consider themselves Africans. So Pan-Africans in the United States want us to identify ourselves by something that's not even identifiable in Africa. There's no such thing as Africans in Africa. Doesn't exist. They got tribes, but there's no such thing as Africans in Africa. Just because you call them Africans don't mean they are African. They do not identify themselves as Africans. They identify themselves by their tribe or their country. They are Ethiopians or Amharans or Roma or Tigrayan. In Ethiopia, they Tigrayan. They're not even Ethiopian. In Ethiopia, they don't even consider themselves Ethiopian. Tigrayans are Tigrayans. Aroma is Aroma. Amara is Amara. And they don't get along, and they're under 3 different flags. Pan-Africanism is nonsense. And Professor James Smalls, if he believes Pan-Africanism is valid, why isn't he in Africa helping the Africans? Why is he whining to 50 million Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, with 1 billion Africans? Why isn't he happy in Africa? Sarah Sunseti, why isn't he happy in Africa? You could tell all of them I said it. Why aren't those Pan-Africans panning their ass to Africa? Why aren't they in Africa being Africans? Why do I have to be an African? Because Professor Smalls wants to be an African, but he will never leave the United States. He's been running back and forth to Africa for a long time. But I got ahead of myself while I stepped on his whole neck, okay? This is going to be brutal, okay? This is going to be brutal. This is going to be brutal. Now, the brother, I had some respect for him. I began to lose respect when he started speaking about Rasta while he going to the barbershop. Rasta in a barbershop thing, you know? So when he started talking about Rasta and dreadlocks, he always get out of his body, don't be knowing what he talking about. So when he started talking about Rastas and dreadlocks in Jamaica, once again, he didn't know what the hell he was talking about. And he been getting a haircut his whole life. So I don't know how he could speak on Natty Dread when as far as Rasta concerned, He's a bothead. Okay. So I don't understand no bothead man. I'm a speaker on Rasta business, but that's another thing there. You know, Pharaoh out of business, real international, Chicago man, you know. So right there, you know, I start saying, you know, maybe he should shut up and retire. But the reason I'm talking about this is because he is out of his body talking about FBA is a CIA operation. This man is trying to say that identifying ourselves and our lineage and recognizing ourselves as the people that have been here since this country started, the CIA is interested in that. So he's trying to say that the CIA is interested, can benefit some kind of way about us dealing with our lineage. He's pushing Pan-Africanism against us dealing with our lineage, but the Pan-Africans, the Africans got a lineage. This will show you how it's time for him to sit his ass down. He's a Pan-African. We are delineating. Delineation means be identified specifically. So we want to be identified specifically as foundational Black Americans, meaning we the Blacks that been here since the country started. Right? He says we should be Pan-Africans and deal with Africans who are delineated. There's not an African in Africa that's not delineated, that is not specifically defined. So Professor Smalls need to retire because his argument against FBA is the same thing he's praising in Africa. And this is what somebody need to get straight. Delineating, we're the last ones to delineate. Everybody else is delineated already. Africans are delineated already. They already identify as Nigerian, as Ugandan, as Ethiopian, as Kenyan. Now, you don't have no problem with them not calling themselves African, but because we want to call ourselves something specific, he want to say the CIA is behind us trying to get reparations and identifying ourselves as the people that been here since the country started. Now, I know the CIA will be pissed if they, the CIA would say, what the hell is he talking about? How can us identifying ourselves and to our lineage help the CIA? And why? He's lying. Professor Smalls is a liar. He's mad because once we reject Pan-Africanism, his career is in the dust. 60 years of Pan-Africanism is worthless. This is why many of them are upset, because they want to hold on to their reputation and to their scholarship, and now their scholarship is worthless. Pan-African scholarship wants Black Americans deal with their lineage and identify ourselves specifically. Pan-Africanism is over because there is no Pan-Africanism in Africa. And the Rastas in Jamaica that went to Ethiopia got chased out. That failed. Shashamani failed. And the Ethiopians bulldozed the Rastas' place and chased them out of there. The Aroma hated Haile Selassie, and Shashamani was in the Aroma land. Haile Selassie promised the land, but he had promised it to Black people. That wasn't necessarily Black people that worship Haile Selassie, which is something different. But when the Rastafarians came over there in Aroma land, Haile Selassie was Amhara, and Aroma and Amhara don't get along. So the Jamaican Rastas and other Rastas moved into a territory under Emperor Haile Selassie, but those people there hate Haile Selassie. So in the place called Shashamani, the land that His Majesty said Black people could come, the Aroma don't respect that because that's their land. They feel like Haile Selassie can't tell you to come on to their land. Because they're from two different tribes. So it's crazy that Dr. Smalls don't recognize tribalism in Africa and that they have delineated in Africa down to tribes. And that he's still pushing the ridiculous concept of Pan-Africanism now that we know that Africans are not Africans. There's no such place as Africa unless you're just talking about a landmass. But there's no such people as Africans. My friends are Senegalese. They Ghanaian. They Ethiopian. They South African. They Nigerian. They are not Africans. They do not identify as Africans. I got a gang of Nigerian friends. I got a gang of friends from Senegal. I got a gang of brethren from Ethiopia. They do not identify as Africans. They do not buy into the concept of Pan-Africanism. There is no Pan-Africanism in Africa. That's why Dr. Smalls is over here. Now he's being real disrespectful, trying to say that the CIA is behind Pan-Africanism. You know why? Because it's 50 million Black Americans. There's 1 billion Africans. And these fake Pan-Africans want to put the burden on unifying 1 billion people on the 50 million. This is what people like Dr. Smalls want to do. They want the few to be the engine for the billion. And that's just 1 billion in Africa. When you talk in terms of Pan-Africanism and you talk in terms of the diaspora, you're talking like 3 billion. Because there's probably 1 billion in South America. Easily. But if not, there's enough in South America that if you put with the rest of the Blacks, we got to be looking at over 2 billion, 3 billion melanated people on the planet. How could 50 million people galvanize 2 or 3 billion? And they never push Pan-Africanism in Brazil. Brazil got more Black people than we got in America. Why is there no pressure for Pan-Africanism in Brazil? Why is there no pressure for Pan-Africanism in the Caribbean? Why is there no pressure for Pan-Africanism in Europe? Why is all the pressure of Pan-Africanism on foundational Black Americans? And why are Pan-Africans not in Africa? And these people made their money off of Pan-Africanism, and this represents their livelihood. But he's 80 years old. Okay? Now, the reason I'm a problem for Professor Smalls, because I was born in 1958. And the fact of the matter is, we started out on FBA. That's a fact. I'll tell him to his face. All of the big push in the United States was basically FBA. It wasn't called FBA, but it was FBA. It was not Pan-Africanism. Dr. Smalls, Professor Smalls' start was not a Pan-African start. That's a fact. In a debate, he lose right here. He lost already because he did not come into the culture as a Pan-African. He came into the culture under Black Power, which was FBA. Black Power was not Pan-Africanism. The Black Panthers did not represent Pan-Africanism. And that's when he came into the game during the Black Panther era. He didn't come into this with no Pan-Africanism. That's a fact. I'll tell him to his face. Debate is over. He lost. His whole sense of Blackness he got from the Black Power movement, which was FBA. 100%. He didn't get his power from no Pan-Africans. He got his power from Malcolm, Khalid, Fred Hampton, Brother Clarence, 13X, Mark Clark, Stokely Carmichael, who is from Trinidad, but MLK is FBA. Pan-Africanism didn't happen until everybody got punked out and scared. I'm going to repeat that. Pan-Africanism didn't happen until brothers got unalived and some of the Black Power dudes got punked out and scared and ran to Africa like Stokely Carmichael did right here. Now his name was Kwame. He passed away, rest in peace. That's a fact. Pan-Africanism was born out of being scared and running to Africa. And then they tried to take our concern for South Africa and us riding with Winnie Mandela. And it was really reggae music that pushed Pan-Africanism. It was really Bob Marley and reggae music and Jamaicans that made Pan-Africanism big because they were still holding on to Marcus Garvey. That's a historical fact. Pan-Africanism came out of Jamaica. He crashed down and did us like that because now everything he stand on is based on Pan-Africanism, and it never went nowhere, and he's frustrated. He's not like me. So Pan-Africanism never went nowhere. Okay? It never went nowhere. So a lot of them brothers like that is upset. And so now when they see FBA coming, that's just a slap in the face to further let them know that Pan-Africanism is dead on arrival. And they kept dreaming, and it never went nowhere. Now, my question to Professor James Smalls is, what did he leave for foundation? What did he leave for Black Americans? Any housing, any money? What did his group that's older than me, that I listen to, what have they left for us? That's what I would ask him. What has he done and his group that's older than me? Because they misled me. If I knew what I knew now, I would have never, ever messed with Pan-Africanism. One of the worst things I ever did, the biggest mistake I made, was Pan-Africanism. Because Pan-Africanism has you looking over there instead of building right here. It's the worst philosophy could have ever happened to foundational Black Americans is Pan-Africanism. It's the worst. Because you could be looking over there for 60 years like he been looking over there. And he didn't do nothing over here to build nothing over here because he been constantly looking at Africa. And now he's 80 years old and he ain't got a pot to piss on and a window to throw it out of here in the United States. He ain't got a school, he ain't got a university, he don't got a mall, a clinic, or no financial, nothing. His group misled us. Because when you start looking towards Africa, right? When you start looking towards Africa, then guess what? Then you don't make no investments here. If he built hotels in Africa for tourism, hell yeah, he wants you to go Africa so he can make some money in them raggedy hotels that he didn't build nothing. All them hotels people like him got, they got them from the colonials when they ran. Old colonial hotels. So when you go to them countries and you stay in them hotels like he got, they raggedy and they not up to par. The nice hotels is the new ones they built. I got friends go to Africa and they told me, do not go to those old colonial hotels where the air conditioning be going out and all that. What y'all know about Africa? You want to go to a hotel and the lights go out at 2 in the morning and don't come back on until 7? They built in places like the Gambia. The white tourists used to go to them old colonial hotels. The black in the Gambia would sell peanuts and they trinkets and they souvenirs. The white power structure from Europe went and built new hotels, all exclusive. So now when the whites come to the Gambia, they go to all exclusive hotels. They don't have to come out. They could jet ski. They could do whatever. They got buses there to drive them on tours and take them back. So now the brothers and sisters in the Gambia can't make no tourist money no more because they built all exclusives. This is what they have done all over the world to shut out the local people. In Hawaii, they got all exclusive. They don't got to ever deal with the Hawaiians. And they buy your best beaches. So they don't got to go from a little old hotel to the beach. Their hotels is on the beach. The jet skiing's on the beach. The boat rides is on the beach. They never have to come and mingle with you at all. They can come to your land, enjoy your beach, enjoy the hotel, enjoy your ocean, and never have to have contact with you. And what they do is they bring in natives for entertainment. So if you go to Africa right now to an upscale European hotel, you're going to see Africans in there dancing. If you go to Hawaii right now and you go to a nice hotel, you're going to see Hawaiians in there. Hula haka hule, hule haka. If you go to Jamaica right now, what, 2 years ago, it showed the Naya Bingi, the Chandambala, on a boat cruise. Rastas on a European boat cruise by the rivers of Babylon. That's why Rasta didn't go nowhere and fail, because when the Jamaicans seen reggae made money, they all became fake Rastas. And then they sold reggae out. And they turned reggae into one love, one heart, come to Jamaica and feel all right. Well, that song, One Love, One Heart, was about the Rasta stop warring. They turned it into tourism. So Pan-Africanism been sold out in Jamaica. And so Smalls is mad because FBA represents, we're not dealing with Pan-Africanism no more. And if he don't like it, he need to go to Ghana, where his hotel's at, and mind his business in Ghana. And stop trying to sell us that fake nonsense he trying to sell. Because it's all fake and fraudulent. Pan-Africanism is washed up, done, roadkill. And he can't tell me nothing, period. They can't tell me nothing. I was there. I'm one of the people that wasted his time with it, but I'm real as it get. I don't got no problem saying it's a waste of time. They don't want to man up. That go for Sarah Sutton Seti, Professor Small, and all the rest of them. They don't want to man up and say it was a waste of time, that we should have focused on our economics right here in this country. That's what we should have did. It was a waste of time. Now, I'm not supposed to say that because I was a Pan-African. I'm giving y'all game. I'm not supposed to say that because it's not just they got money in it, cyber. It's their pride. Their pride won't let them change. It's their pride. I don't got no pride. I don't care. What it is what it is. And once I seen Pan-Africanism was trash, then it's just trash. When I thought it was popping, I thought it was popping. I don't got no problem with it. But everybody not like me. So then they become bitter. So when you see these ex-Pan-Africans, they don't really like FBA. They don't really like some of these Egyptologists dudes. I ain't got to keep saying no name. Don't really like the FBA movement. Just riding the wave because the Pan-African stuff he been promoting and all the Egyptian stuff is played out. Nobody care. So to get some views, they'll talk FBA, but they really hate it. They really hate. They don't like it. They hate it. If he built hospitals in Ghana and Uganda, why don't he stay over there? Why is he worried about FBA business, Cincy? Why is he in our business? Why he just ain't over there minding his business? Why is he speaking on FBA? Now, okay. Here we go with Big Pharaoh. I got to do it. Now, he's saying FBA is CIA. Let's look into that. FBA is CIA, huh? He born in 1945, right? Okay, he born in 1945. Okay. So that means he was around when Malcolm got unalive. He talking about CIA, right? He say FBA is CIA. But he was born in 1945 and he was around when Malcolm was unalive. He was around when something happened to Khalid. He was around when something happened, when Fred Hampton got unalive. Professor Smalls was on the scene when Clarence 13X got unalive. Professor Smalls was on the scene when Mark Clark got unalive with Fred Hampton. Professor Smalls was on the scene. So now the question is this. According to logic, if you've been here all these years and you was born in 1945 and you was here in the 60s and 80s and all that, and everybody else got unalived except you, and now you're going out your way to try to put a blemish on FBA and say we CIA, and you going back and forth all over the place. Some revolutionaries would say you is the police. Because why is everybody else gone except Smalls? That's my question, since we're going to bring up the police. Since we're going to bring up the police, he the one that been here when everybody was knocked off. Nothing happened to him. He always running back and forth to the continent, slithering around. Nothing happened to him. He got all these stories about hanging out with Malcolm. He got all these stories about hanging out with all these black revolutionaries, all gone. He got all these stories about going to Africa with all them brothers is gone too. So who's the police? Because when you get on some revolutionary time, because revolutionary ain't Pan-African. Revolutionary is black power. So when you get on some black power, who's the police though? Who's really the police? Who really been here and nothing happened to them but happened to everything around them? Who's really COINTELPRO? Because everybody he brag about being around is gone, unalive. He been going in and out. He be anything. He just couldn't be Rasta because he ain't got no locks. But he died kind of slithery, not really identifying what he really is. And he trying to put a jacket on a brother. And we want to know where you get that concept from. Where you get that concept? Who told you? Because that's some police stuff. Where did he get the concept to say FBA is a CIA operation? Why would he say that? What is FBA doing to him that's stopping his Pan-Africanism? And why he got to, what is that? Why would he say that? When he was the one around everybody that got popped. He was the one smiling and grinning with every last one of these people. He was around, slithering around. I'm just saying. And he's slow. And he don't know what he talking about. Because I ain't no African. I got African DNA, but I ain't no African. I got DNA from Kemet, but I'm not no African. So he ain't no professor. Because if he was a professor, he would know a lot of our relatives is Native Americans. This is my great-grandmother, my mother's grandmother. She is Sioux. Her husband, the one, had the African blood. Her son is my mother's father. My mother's father was African and Native American. I'm Sioux and African. I'm not African. How can I be African when my great-grandmother on my mother's side is Sioux? She lives 117 years old. I thought he was a professor. I got black African DNA, but I got black Native American DNA too. I'm foundational black American all the way. I'm not no pure Native American because everybody was sleeping with everybody. Some brothers would take this picture of their great-grandmother and say they Native American without including everybody else who slept with their women. Because she lived with Uncle John, and Uncle John was an African for sure. He wasn't no Native American. And that's just on my mother's side. Then on my father's side, you got a lot of people. You got 32 people. You got 64 people when you go back to your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. That's 64 different people. Stop pretending you know who all 64 of them is. You barely know your 8 great-grandparents. You barely know them. Because you got 4 grandparents and you got 8 great-grandparents because each one of your grandparents got 2 parents. Who is them people? What's their bloodline? So we foundational black Americans, short and simple. But my antennas went up when I seen him start trying to say FBA is a CIA operation. Only the CIA would say that. Yeah. Yes, I used to go hang out at her crib when I was little. See, she passed away in 1993. I was born in 1958. That's how you know I really was down there with her. Because we went down there every year in the 60s and in the 70s. My grandfather lived here, and then she lived up the road. My grandfather, it was all farmland. We would go there. We would stay at my grandfather's house, maybe 3 or 4 days. Then we'd go stay with my grandmother, my great-grandmother. 3 or 4 days. Then we come back and stay with my grandfather 3 or 4 days. But because she was up the road, we would still drive up there and see her like every day, though, every 2 days. For the brother to put that jacket on black people like that, he out of line for that. He is definitely out of line for hating on FBA so much. Hating on the fact that we trying to identify our own lineage and we ain't dealing with Pan-Africanism, that he gonna call it a CIA operation. And then he was a Muslim, and Islam don't come from Africa. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Islam is not a traditional African practice at all. Disgraceful and suspicious. That's very suspicious. And who in specific is he saying is work for the CIA? He out of line. He out of line. Same way Dr. Umar said, don't give us reparations, we're going to mess the money up. Yeah. Yeah, saying stuff he ain't got no business saying. You know what I'm saying? Now, he can't get mad when I say if anybody, the police, is him. Yeah, he's saying all because he butthurt because nobody want to follow his philosophy because his philosophy is washed up. The people's political opinions ain't got nothing to do with their lineage, bro. The only way you can say FBA is the feds if FBA was organization. How would lineage have anything to do with the federal government? Reggie? What people don't, the problem, Reggie, is people want to think that FBA is a group. The people is unintelligent. FBA is not a group. FBA is a lineage. The only movement is a movement for us to recognize our lineage. There is a movement that I'm a part of. Right? There's a movement. All it is lineage. So when you say FBA, I see now is a problem. FBA, how is your lineage a problem? Is it a problem to be a Ghanaian? So is being a Ghanaian a problem? Because that's their lineage. Is being an Ethiopian a problem? Or do you not recognize that being a foundational Black American is equal to being a Ghanaian? So you don't know what FBA is, basically. You don't know what it is. You're just speaking on something you don't know what it is. Just a lineage. It's not a group. It's a lineage. It's a new word for African American. It's a new word. It's a new way of saying Black American. It's just foundational. When we was Black Americans, why you didn't say that was the, you see what I'm saying? So we call ourselves Black Americans, that was fine. We put foundational in front of it. I tell you, these people. Dr. Smalls was here when we called ourselves Black Americans. He didn't complain. Put the word foundational in front of it, and now it's the government. Do you know how slow you got to be? So we got people that's slow. They don't even know what FBA is. Dr. Smalls does not know what FBA is. He thinks it's a group. That's what he thinks. You can't, the FBA, the CIA cannot infiltrate a lineage. They can't infiltrate Italians. They can infiltrate a certain Italian mob, but they can't infiltrate Italians. They can't infiltrate Chinese. That's why y'all shouldn't argue with nobody that don't like FBA, because they on the yellow school bus. You argue with somebody that's highly unintelligent, that's arguing about a lineage, and they don't even know what it is. They don't know what it is. They be saying like, you FBAs don't even know they saying you Black Americans. That's all they saying, you Black Americans. That's all I'm saying, you Black Americans. It don't matter what they say. We are pushing a movement to get them to understand what FBA is. That's it. As simple as that. Eventually, people will understand what it is, and it'll be listed on the Census Bureau. And it was very much necessary. It was very much necessary because American is your nationality. So as a Black American, that made it so if you came here from Ghana and you became an American citizen, technically you're a Black American. So in order so we won't get confused with other Blacks that come over here and get American citizenship, we are distinguishing ourselves as foundational Black Americans, meaning we the Blacks been here. That's it. It's that simple. Now, this is a professor. This is a professor that says it's the CIA. The CIA is interested in us identifying our lineage. And the fact we identify our lineage, they saying that's separation. This is people that's super slow. They saying that when we call ourselves FBA, we're separating our lineage. So like people like this, he said, we're all Black, but he won't tell the Nigerians we are Black, and they can call themselves Nigerian. So Sensei see he's slow. Because when they say they're Nigerians, he don't have no problem with it. He don't make them call themselves Black. They can be Nigerians. When they say they're Ethiopians, he don't have a problem with it. When they say they're Jamaicans, so when we say we foundational Black American, how is that not the same as being a Nigerian? So Sensei, you don't know what FBA means. Just admit that you don't know what it means. That's all. Just admit you don't know what it means. You think it means something. So you're saying they can't be Nigerian, Jamaican, and still be all Black? Nigeria, are Africans all Black? And they all call themselves something different. those of you out there that are Foundation Black America, do not waste your time arguing with people like this because they don't know what they're talking about. You're just wasting your time. And some people will argue with you just for the sake of argument because they don't got the knowledge. Once you know his lineage, don't waste your time arguing with somebody that don't understand lineage. Because if they understood lineage, they would understand that they respect everybody else's lineage. So why would they have a problem with ours? Sensei don't have no problem with Jamaicans. Their lineage is Jamaican. They don't have to say they Africans. Nigerians don't have to say they Africans. Ethiopians don't have to say they Africans. Trinidadians, Brazilians. But Sensei want us to say we just black. Nobody else got to be black but us. Because Africans ain't black. They whatever country or tribe they come from. Do not waste any time with people like this. Plus, when they got these funny pictures and stuff, you don't know who they are. Don't waste your time. Because you can't make people understand what lineage is. They got to go study. And you understand that from just anybody on social media. But for a professor to not know is ridiculous. It's ridiculous this man don't know that it's about lineage. He's embarrassing himself. He's a total failure as a scholar, total. They got behind on his studies. He done got emotional over Africa to the point he don't know what a lineage is, but he respect everybody's lineage, but he don't respect foundational Black Americans identifying a specific lineage. You're 100% correct. He said, in my opinion, the professor is spreading different information because our delineation is not good for his business. Exactly, because we don't want to go to Ghana. I couldn't debate him because I'd be getting disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't debate him because I'd totally embarrass him and disgrace him. You know? Period. He couldn't tell me nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean he couldn't tell me nothing. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of his students, and he failed as a teacher. I've been past him. Okay? I passed him. By the time, this is me in my early 20s. By the time when I was in my 30s, Smalls couldn't tell me nothing. This is what happened when you don't stay up on your knowledge. You understand? And I've been doing this. This ain't no little boy stuff. So if he really want to debate, he need to stop debating youngins. Tell him come holler at Pharaoh. I'll do him dirty. I'll do him real dirty. Because he ain't never been nothing, and he wasn't nobody till the internet. His name ain't never been ringing no bells out here, and he been around everybody that been on the live, and he got to call somebody a cop, but he the one been around all the brothers, and they all, something happened to everybody except him. He was able to stay under the radar some type of way all these years, bounce in and out. He was around everybody that got on the live, but he didn't. You know why? Because Smalls never stood up for nothing. He always stayed in the background, talking background, weak background. He never was in the forefront of nothing. That was disrespectful. He was always in the background. But the thing is, he made a mistake because now he looked like the police. He made a mistake. He not that smart like you think. He looked like the police. That's what he looked like. He looked like he'd been compromised. He looked like they compromised him way back then. Because I've been watching Smalls for many years, and he always talk about being around all these brothers that's no longer here. I didn't pay a lot of attention to it. How much he talked about he was around Malcolm. He was around everybody that's alive. I didn't really pay no attention. You know what I'm saying? But when I seen this, I said, you know what? This dude saying FBA is a CIA operation, but you the one been here and everybody been touched but you. He the one been here when MLK was assassinated. He the one been here when the Kennedys was assassinated. He was the one that was older when what happened to Malcolm and what happened to Khalid and many, many other brothers. He was here. And his name never came up in nothing. He stayed under the radar until the era of the internet and Sonnet and all. And then he popped his little weasel ass out. And he never takes a leadership position either. He kind of talks, get back. He kind of talks, and he get back. And I seen him, he's an expert with martial arts and all different type of weapons. Yeah, if anybody's the police, it's him. Why would you call a movement to get lineage? Why would you say it's a CIA operation? And you back and forth to Africa, nothing never happened to you. You back and forth, you all in Jamaica, he's in everybody's business. Like I'm really looking at him crazy. Because he be in everybody's business. He went to Jamaica and he went up in the mountains in Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? He in everybody's business. Like he's watching what everybody's doing. Like I'm really tripping on him. Because I didn't like when he went to Jamaica. And he's up there and he's speaking on dreadlocks, speaking on Rasta. I'm like, well, dude, you not no Rasta. You ain't never did nothing in this movement like that. Like, we don't know you like that. Why would you wait till 2000s and 20s and now you start to speak on Rasta business and stuff and misspeaking on it, misspeaking on dreadlocks, inserting itself in everything like, I don't know, but never inserting itself in nothing that's really building nothing. He's inserting himself in stuff where he making money and stuff. He gotta be COINTEL. Because why would you jump that far? FBA, like just coming up with a lineage? Think about that. Just the decision to come up with a new title. So we won't be Black Americans or African Americans. And we come up with a new title, Foundational Black American, just a new title. How the hell is that got anything to do with any kind of police or anything? All we trying to do is let all the foundational Black Americans know, start identifying yourself like that to get it big enough so that we can be separated in the census, so we can be counted separated, so we can keep up with our money, so our money won't get mixed all in, and so we can identify ourselves as people that been here, just like everybody else identify themselves. It's not a religion or nothing like that. You could still be a Rasta and be a Jamaican. You could be a Rasta and be a Nigerian. Now you're going to identify as Africa because that's the Rasta philosophy. But if you're a Muslim, you can be a Muslim and still be a Nigerian. You can be a Muslim and be an American. You'll be a Muslim and be from Kenya. So you could be whatever you're gonna be. That's just your lineage. That's not what you are. I could be a Hebrew Israelite. My lineage is just I'm a Hebrew Israelite that been here since the country was started. That's all. That's all it means. All it means is that we've been here from the foundation of the country. Now you would think a brother like that would be proud of something like that. And Goshen, you make a good point. This man is too smart to be making this mistake. He's smart enough. He know what FBA is. So the fact he's triggered and he's throwing around telling people that FBA is the CIA, he messed up. Because now he got Big Pharaoh saying, well, you was the one around Malcolm. You was the one around Khalid. You was here. You was here. You was here. When all these brothers got unalive, you was older and you was moving and shaking. I was a kid. I was a kid. But he was born in 1945. So I don't know how you going to call nobody the police when he was around, when a whole lot of police stuff was happening. And nothing happened to him, and he stayed out the way. So he would have a name, but not really have a name. His name is big enough, but not too big. And now he's calling people CIA. He said FBA is a CIA. What purpose would the CIA have with us coming out with a lineage and asking for reparations? Oh, it's hurting your money. Right? It's hurting your money. What you mean y'all did it to yourselves, did what to ourselves, and who was y'all? Who was y'all? I don't know, who is y'all? When you say y'all, who is y'all? And if y'all ain't you, why you watching us? If you them? If I'm a us and you a them, why ain't you just minding your business? Why you in our business if we are y'all? Why is you over here? Maybe I'm misinterpreting you, certified. What you gotta explain to me what you saying. Because I don't understand what you're saying. And I don't really like people watching me that don't like me. So you need to let us know, is you riding with us or not? Because if you ain't riding with us and you watching us, then you got to get a life. You got to get a life. He talking about the truth. Yeah. He's always talking about the truth. Yes, he is. That's the first thing I thought about. That's the first thing I thought about. That's the first thing I thought about. One thing about certified, he on ours, so we don't care nothing about him. He watching us, so we winning. We not watching him, so he got a hold of L. He got a hold of L. Because what we doing, we sticking with it. And somebody on social media don't really mean nothing like that. Okay, I just wanted to know. Come back tomorrow. Because he wasn't supporting me. I've been supporting me. That man ain't been supporting me. Let me tell you something. He said he just supported us. That man ain't supported me. I'm a boss out here. Like if you got a house, you got a support beam. I'm a support beam myself. He ain't did no more. Let me tell you something. A lot of these people that get the credit for the black community, what y'all don't understand is there's females and there's males that was boots on the ground. And without them boots on the ground, there ain't nobody to go to them lectures. We the ones that got people to go to the lectures. We the ones at the park, on the buses, at the events doing the talking. Professor Smalls ain't got nothing on me. I'm one in my own right. I'm boots on the ground. He ain't, y'all got to get rid of them big-eyed little youth. He ain't no better than no more the rest of the comrades that was out here doing work. As a matter of fact, a lot of brothers and sisters with no fame did way more work than him. That's a fact. Like myself, he ain't put in no work like I put in. Facts. I was outside with man for real the whole time. I wasn't dipping in and out. I ain't no internet. I didn't do no internet work back in the day. We didn't even have internet. You had to be outside and make things happen. And there wasn't no Smalls in Chicago, LA. I didn't see him in LA. I ain't seen him in Chicago. He was up in New York. That's the only place he was at. He wasn't in the United States like that. You have to ask yourself who be promoting these dudes where they get these positions and be somebody. Who put him in a position to be somebody? Because I've been out here. A lot of these talking heads be plants. I'm telling you. A lot of these spokespeople that come from nowhere ain't really did nothing, got a whole bunch of stories about being around everybody that's unalived. Where I come from, Smalls, you've been out here all them years and you've been around everybody and everybody got unalived against you, except you. It either means you was behind it or you wasn't talking about nothing worth nothing. So they left you out here. But ain't been listening to dudes like that. Know that. Man, listen, man. You see this picture? I wasn't listening to none of them. Okay? He couldn't tell me nothing back then. On my soul, I wouldn't have listened to dude. On everything I love, as a shorty in the gang, I wouldn't have listened to him. Facts. He wouldn't have been nobody to me. Just another dude talking. I kind of seen him when he was on the internet. I didn't know him till I seen him on the internet. I seen him on the internet. I didn't dislike him. It was cute. You say need to stop leeching off of Malcolm? Let me tell you something. Small's been back and forth to Africa, back and forth to Africa. When Malcolm went to Africa, there was people over there watching him. When Malcolm went to Africa, how they know where he was, when he won, how he was moving. And let me tell you something. There's always a black one they got watching the blacks. And we'll just leave that like that. Because he always talking about Malcolm, but Malcolm ain't here and you are. Where I come from, if you always around dude get popped, but you don't. Malcolm know everything and you know everything. But Malcolm get popped and you don't, you go silent. Because see, all them dudes like that, they went silent. Then they stuck their head back up in the 80s. Then they went silent again. Then they stuck their heads back up when YouTube started popping. I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I know. Let me tell you something. It'd be a lot of people involved in stuff, not just the NOI, because it'd be people in the NOI that ain't NOI. Facts. And there'll be people around watching, and other people be watching. Don't you believe everything is based on just the organization? It's also based on spies outside that can watch you that you won't pay no attention to because they're not in the organization. So if I'm in the organization and you beef with the organization, it's not easy for me to get close to you. But it's easy for some conscious dude to get close to you. And we just gonna leave that like that. And when you see these dudes that's around everybody and everybody else unalive but them, all right. But then when they start calling somebody the police, what you think about that? Prove me wrong. What you think about somebody just start calling you the police out of nowhere? Now, if you're not the police, who is? Prove me wrong. If somebody just go out the way and try to tell everybody you the FBI or something, but you're not, who is? Answer that. If somebody call you a fed, call you an agent, and you're not, what is that person? Answer me that. What you think about a person where everybody gone except them? And they got stories on everybody, but nothing happened to them. They only talked enough to look radical. They didn't say enough to get treated like everybody else. Okay? Obviously, Smalls didn't say enough to end up like these brothers. He just said just enough to be baby radical, to be close to the fire and not get burned. He can't blame nobody but himself now that we looking, is this dude an agent? Because what the hell is you start bringing up, what the hell the CIA got to do with lineage? Why would the CIA come because you put an F in front of BA? Because we've been BA. We've been Black Americans. All we did was put an F in front of it for the slow people in the back. Foundational Black Americans is nothing but Black Americans with the word foundational in front of it. That's all. That's the CIA care because you put an F in front of BA. This just shows you all that our FBA that identify that we got people. A lot of people don't like us because they're slow. They don't even know what FBA is. So you got people don't like FBA. They think it's a group. They think it's an organization. They think it's a movement. But the movement is just to get us to identify ourselves. FBA is not a movement, but there's a movement to get us to change what we identify ourselves. We don't want to be African American, and we don't want to be Black American. We want to be we are foundational Black American. We're just changing our description for the purposes of lineage. You're not mad at the Chinese for calling themselves Chinese. You're not mad at the Greeks for calling themselves Greeks. He been in two docks, but Goshen broke it all down. This affects his money. This affects a lot of people that do that. This affects all their old material, all their old videos. It affects everything. If foundational Black Americans identify themselves and put down the nonsense of Pan-Africanism, then all the Pan-African videos and stuff is trash. Who care? The fear with a lot of historians is that we start looking to the future. They want us to keep looking in the past. Exactly. Exactly, Mongo. He did the same thing Stokely did. They ran like little girls. But Pan Africanism was always some bull. I just didn't know it because we were not Pan Africans. We were Black Power, and Black Power was FBA. And then when everybody got unalive, it got quiet. And the only reason Pan Africanism did anything is two reasons: because of what happened in South Africa and the popularity of Winnie Mandela and reggae. If it wasn't for Winnie Mandela and reggae, we never would have looked to Africa, start identifying with Africa, any of that. Well, three things, and roots. Roots really kicked it off. Roots, Winnie Mandela, and reggae. Roots really kicked it off. That was like 1978. And as soon as I got out of high school, Roots was like a series. And that really, because a lot of blacks in the United States don't understand the history and how Black Americans didn't know much. And some of y'all live in this era, in the social media era and the internet. Y'all don't know that, like my generation and my parents, we didn't know much. There was no internet or nothing. Whatever they knew when they came from the South, that was it. For foundational Black Americans, our first time really knowing anything about slavery was from Roots. Anybody will tell you that. That's my age or you're older. Roots was the first time because a movie's only like 2 hours, but Roots came on and that's like 7, 8, 9 hours because it's a series. In a series, you could take time and go more into depth. Now, I'm not getting into the fact if it was factual or not. That's not my point because I got brothers that hear that. And then you want to talk about, I'm just saying this was the first time blacks had seen anything like that to that extent. Other movies like Amistad and stuff ain't got nothing on Roots because Amistad's only an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 at the most. Roots is an hour every night for a week or however many days. That's a lot of footage. You can slow down when you're doing a series. A series goes more into depth. That's why I like series better than movies. Series are always way better than movies because they could take their time. They don't got to rush it into an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours. They could do 10 seasons and then come back next year and do 10 seasons and do 10 seasons. That's 10 hours, 10 hours, 10 hours. That's 30 hours. There's no movie you can watch for 30 hours. But we was Black Power. Black is beautiful. Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. Yeah, Roots was. I remember going to work. I worked at a book factory, and all the blacks was mad. It was one of those bad episodes. I think it was like had some whipping in it. And man, when I went to work that night, you could cut the tension with a knife. Because the bosses was two white dudes, but dang near all the workers was black, and they was really, man, I'll never forget that night. I'm young. I'm like 18. I never forget that night, man. I went to work, man. Everybody was pissed. All of the older blacks, they was pissed. They was not happy with that. And that was the first time we started getting into something else. You know what I'm saying? Because everything shut down in the 70s. So the Black Power movement stopped in the 70s. In the 70s, they got all into like mod, you know what I'm saying? Bell bottoms, you know, like the Mod Squad shows and stuff. So blacks, put down the whole black power, everything, and they start making more money, buying nice cars, buying homes, and stuff like that in the 70s. And when you get to 76, 77, and they drop Roots, that was heavy. And from that point on, then you got Winnie Mandela, and then you got reggae. And that's how the whole Pan-African thing came in, and it kind of squashed the black power. The black power had little traces of Africa in it, but it wasn't about Africa. It was about say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, black is beautiful and stuff like that. That was all foundational black American. That point in history was the foundational black American movement, the early aspects of it. We just didn't know we was foundational black Americans, but we was definitely moving like that. We was definitely moving as foundational black Americans during that era. So that was the era they don't like to talk about. You know what I mean? Started like when I was 10, like 1968. It really got big. But it really started earlier than that. But, well, probably when I was 8, probably 1964, 65, like that. You know what I mean? So this is when it really started popping. You feel me? I was here. And it wasn't no Pan-Africanism or nothing like that in the United States. It was really about being proud to have nappy hair, be proud of your skin, black is beautiful. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't no Pan-Africanism. It was about black is beautiful. That's what it was about. It had nothing to do with Pan-Africanism at all. Not one bit. The Pan-Africanism didn't come for a while. And there was a lot of different situations that maybe I'll talk about some other time, but I know the information. Okay. For anybody that know, if you know anything about BLA and you know anything about BGF, then you know I'm telling the facts. This was way before Pan-Africanism. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving y'all the real history. This was way before. And this was all FBA standing up. This had nothing to do with Africa at all. That's an absolute fact. It was all about Fred Hampton, Huey P. Newton, and George Jackson, which I know about George Jackson. Go look them up. So it's always been Pan-Africanism but it was mostly not that big. It was mostly uh, disappeared because Garvey wasn't able to. When Garvey didn't kick it off, it disappeared. You know what I'm saying? So when Garvey couldn't kick it off and went to jail, that was it for that. Then when he got out of prison, and he never made it to Africa. He went to Jamaica. They chased him out of Jamaica. The Jamaicans hated him. He moved up to Canada, where Dr. Henry Clark went and seen him and said he was one of the worst people he ever met in his life. And he was very disappointed. I've been trying to find that video again. But Dr. Henry Clark went to meet with Marcus Garvey. He said Marcus Garvey was one of the worst people he ever met in his life. That he was looked up to Marcus. He thought Marcus was great and all that. And when he finally got to Canada to meet him, he said Marcus was nasty and real nasty with him. So Garvey ended up going as far only to England. It's funny, though, because he was always debating E.B. Du Bois, but Du Bois made it to Africa and Garvey didn't. So Pan-Africanism didn't make it. I was born in 1958, and so by the time you get to 61, 62, Black Power was the new thing. And it was all about being proud to be black. FBA. This is original FBA right here. And we just didn't know what it was. And then Pan-Africanism came later. Based on, other factors, roots on TV, Winnie and Nelson Mandela, and reggae. Reggae don't get no credit, but reggae is the one that pushed Pan-Africanism and made that big. Bob Marley and all of them, Black Uhuru, Steel Pulse, all them groups. That's how that got big. Without reggae, there wouldn't have been no Pan-Africanism. That's an absolute fact. Reggae made that happen. But the Jamaicans, the newer Jamaicans, they messed it up because they wasn't standing on it, and they were some haters, some of them. The older Jamaicans were standing on that. They didn't call the older Rastas they didn't call themselves Jamaicans. They called themselves Ethiopians with an I, not Ethiopians. They used to call themselves Ethiopians. But when the reggae took off, then you gotta understand, the Rastas in Jamaica was hated by the Jamaican people. So the Rastas had to go live up in the bushes because they used to do all type of horrible thing if you had dreadlocks. Eventually, the youngins came up there. Bob Marley and Peter and them came up there with Mortimer and Kojo and them. And then they created reggae. Then after they created reggae, the Wailers and them got with some white dudes and they started taking them around the world because it was still hippies was around. So they were able to do these shows for these hippie whites that really liked it because they was growing their hair and stuff out too. And slowly reggae took off. They started having the Sunsplash in Jamaica. So now all of these people come to Jamaica. Jamaica's making a lot of money. So next thing you know, from just being Rastas nobody liked, now Rasta is a superstar. So once Rasta became a superstar, Rasta was a Pan-African. Fake Jamaicans wanted to be superstars. So all the fakes started playing reggae. And they wasn't standing on Rasta philosophy. They was just Jamaicans trying to get a bag. So when the younger ones came in, they turned it into some nonsense. They didn't do what the elders started it to do. They jumped into it for the money. And that's how all the message and all the blackness just disappeared. because the same people that hated Rasta end up being Rastas. Because my brethren, Kojo, my elder, he couldn't even go to town. He couldn't even go see his mother, or they would unalive him. When you start talking about my elder Rasta brethren, they couldn't even go to town. And they was the ones pushing Africa for the Africans. When the fakes seen it was money in it, this is my brethren, my teacher right here, the elder, he up in the hills. You know why he's in the hills? They couldn't go down in the city. He couldn't even go visit his mother. The police catch him. They unalive him. So these are the people that was teaching Africa for the Africa and looking at Haile Selassie in Ethiopia. And then Bob and them was these the ones that taught Bob and them how to play the music. Him and Mortimer taught them with the nine bingy drums how to play the music. That's when Bob and them started growing their dreadlocks and started playing reggae. Then they split up. Bob added some more people, built Bob Marley and the Wailers, started going on tours, money coming in. You got great guys, you got Jacob Miller, you got this one, that one, it started blowing up. So now all the Jamaicans that hated him, they all became reggae artists. So now the Jamaicans start taking the verbiage, Irie, One Love, Soon Come. Those was only Rasta terms. Those were never Jamaican terms. And Rastas never called themselves Jamaicans. That was an insult. They called themselves Ethiopians or Africans. A little history there for you all. That's where I come in at. I come in at that period. When I left Chicago, went to Compton, I lived with him. He was older than he was in this picture. This is a picture when he was doing this. I probably was in school. You know what I'm saying? I probably was in grade school on this when he took this picture. And that's the culture on that. And they the ones that bought in with the music, bought in Pan-Africanism. But Pan-Africanism was not our thing. It was something we adopted listening to the reggae stuff. Our thing was Black Power and Black is Beautiful was our thing, which was all FBA. Straight up. It was really the original FBA. We just, was primitive. Our parents was from the South. We didn't have all the information y'all got to develop and take it to the next level. So you all are really a blessing for Black people in the future. You got to understand that all of this is new. So all you FBA, all you foundational Black Americans, watch, you got to understand this is new. You like babies after slavery. Seriously. Whatever year you was born, always remember, count from 1970, because we didn't get free till 1970. So if you was born in 1990, we had only been free 20 years. If you was born in 1980, we had only been free 10 years. If you was born in 1958 like me, we wasn't free. When I was born, when I was going to school in the 60s, we wasn't free. If we was free, Rosa Parks would have been able to sit down wherever she wanted to sit down, right? All right then. So the fact she couldn't sit down, when my mother came up in Alabama, she couldn't sit in no seat. She had to stand up and hold my uncle. They telling you all information, but it's not really thorough. Foundational Black Americans were not free until 1970. When I was 12 years old. That's an absolute fact. You got free in the 60s under the Black Power movement. The Black Power movement is what got you free. This is a fact. Pan-Africanism didn't do nothing for you. What got you free is the Black Power movement. These is absolute facts, which Malcolm was the founder of, because all of the young brothers, they all used to listen to Malcolm. So these brothers used to listen to Malcolm. You understand? I'm giving y'all the real history. They used to listen to Malcolm. That's why Malcolm was a threat. He was a threat because the young brothers was listening to him. Because Stokely was with MLK at first. Stokely wasn't with Malcolm. Stokely didn't go jump to Malcolm's side. Malcolm got unalived, and then MLK got unalived. And that's when they started saying we should have listened to Malcolm. So they jumped on what Malcolm X was on. Because they was like, well, y'all unalived the peace guy. We should have listened to the ballot or the bullet. So Malcolm gave birth to them. This is facts. Their leader was Malcolm X. This is what the Nation of Islam was worried about. And this is why they was afraid of Malcolm. It wasn't Malcolm. It was the shorties was listening to Malcolm. My teacher, they would sit down and play Malcolm X records. Back then, they would take his tapes and put them on records. Malcolm X gave birth to the first real FBA, modern day FBA movement, which was the Black Power movement. Which, you know, people was around that and things happened. You got to ask yourself what happened. But this is the movement that got you to where you at today. You understand? Black is beautiful. And that led to afros, and that led to dreadlocks, and that led to a free mind. Now they're trying to erase that and take you backwards. And then Foundational Black Americans is based off of now coming out with a terminology that identifies us for the purpose of our own straight identification and for the purpose of reparations. Nobody should be mad at that. We just want reparations. That's all. There go your people. There go FBA right there. They would have jumped on. If you would have told them we foundational Black Americans, man, they would have went crazy. They would have jumped on that. Man, let me tell you, this generation right here, these my OGs, okay? These people you're looking at here, I'm a little boy trying to be like them. I'm like, mommy, can I get out? Can I get a natural? You used to call it the natural look. So I'm a little boy. I'm trying to be like them, the big boys. See what I'm saying? I don't want to be like them. So I'm begging my mommy to let me grow a natural. They call it the natural look. Then it became the afro. See this brother, the closest picture with the glasses? That's the natural look. That was called a natural. That wasn't called no afro. Later, they called it the afro, and you start trying to blow out, get a blowout kit and blow it out, make it bigger and bigger and bigger. But back right here in this picture, this the natural look. That's what they call it. Get it natural. So now they start affecting my generation. They affected me. That's the history, okay? So we've been working towards our own identity, but we just had some, you know, bumps in the road, but we there now. And I'm telling you all right now, the Foundation of Black American, Tariq Nasheed, made history. Yep. But people don't understand that. He made history not because he's the leader in a group. He made history because coming up with that term, foundational Black American, that's going to stick. That's going to stick for many years. All your grandchildren stuff, they would be considered foundational Black Americans. That is going to stick. That is definitely going to stick. Because the American descendants of slaves, we ain't, we don't want to be called no slaves. So whatever he did, which he, the one I know that introduced it, the term. So he's not a leader because it's not an organization, but he is the person that coined the phrase. And he's going to be famous for that because it's going to stick. And I know what's going to stick and what's not going to stick. Because I know back colors, Negro, and Black American. African American was only a term used on the news. African American was just for media purposes. We never called ourselves African Americans. We called ourselves Black Americans. Because we was black and we was black and proud. African American was a term for the news media. It was not made up by Jesse Jackson. Stop letting people that wasn't here give y'all information. Come talk to somebody who was here. He did not make that up. He just used it a lot because he was the main Black person on the news. And he used the news terminology. Black African American was the news terminology that the news used in order to fit you in with the other groups. Because the news would be like, and so we got a great diversity of Chinese American, Japanese American, Italian American, German American, African American. That was only for that purpose for the news, because everybody else was identified by their lineage and their citizenship. So if your lineage was German and your citizenship was American, you was German American. If your lineage was Italian and your citizenship was American, you was Italian American. So it's like, well, what are we going to call the Negroes, the colors? They say, well, we don't know what country they from, but let's just call them African Americans, which was perfect at the time for the news media. You got to take everything into perspective. The term African American was perfect at that time. They needed something to be able to say when they say Greek American, Polish American, Chinese American, because that's what they used to call everybody by their ethnicity, their lineage, and then their citizenship. The American part is your citizenship. All we did now was take African off and make it foundational Black Americans because we was Black Americans. We just put foundational in it. The news media called us African Americans for the news. In the streets, we was called Black Americans. These is our facts. Black Americans was the term we used. We didn't use African American. We only used African American for like books, homework, and the media. That's it. African American was a media term. In the street, in the hood, on the blocks, it was Black Americans. Black people. These are our facts. I was here. Both of those terms were being used at the same time, but African American was a media term. It was only a term used to put you with everybody else. That's all. Because most of the time, when the media would bring up these different ethnic groups, it would be some type of news story, like a day where everybody's out cooking and they want to say, we got Italian American food and Chinese American food and Greek American food and African American. It was just for the media. They say Jesse Jackson made up. He did, but Jesse Jackson was always on the news media and he had to use the news term, which was African American, because it was the term that went along with Greek American, German American, Italian American. After whites started mixing, they were no longer Italian Americans. They breeded out because the Italian guy married a Greek woman. The Jewish man married a German woman. So they wasn't pure Italians no more. They wasn't pure Greeks. They was just white. So they became white Americans. This is the real history. So when that next generation, if you go watch some old gangster pictures, you'll see that the gangster was tripping because his son come on with a Jewish girlfriend. But before that, it was just Italians with Italians, Jewish with Jewish, Irish with Irish, like that. Over time, the young generation, their kids started mixing. So they could no longer be Greek Americans or nothing. So they became white. So they had to start calling them white Americans on the media. So then they got to call you Black Americans. That's the real history. Yep, they had to start calling them white. As a matter of fact, they got documentaries here in Chicago about how it affected the food, how we lost all the Greek town and Greek restaurants. We lost little Italy. We don't have a whole bunch of authentic Italian restaurants no more. We don't have no authentic Greek restaurants like that no more because they all interbreeded. The only ones that didn't interbreed was the blacks. We the only ones stayed the same. The whites mixed with each other. So they didn't stay Italians. They didn't stay Greeks. They didn't stay Polish. They turned white. So when the Polish guy married his girl and she's German, they babies ain't German or Polish. They just white. That's just history for the background. I hope y'all learned something from this. Professor Smalls is crazy. He definitely out of line. He's foul. He's extremely foul. Extremely. I got no respect for him anymore. Any respect I have for him is gone. I could not believe that he would stoop that low. I ain't gonna lie. And start hating on the fact that we trying to identify ourselves, we trying to delineate so we can get reparations. And I don't know why everybody hating on us when everybody else is delineated. This just show you, man. And he's supposed to know that. Everybody, if I debated him, the first question I would ask him is, are other people delineated? He would have to say yes. Are Nigerians delineated? Yes. That's a fact. They're Nigerians. They don't call themselves Africans. They are not Africans. They are Nigerians. That's delineation. Let me show y'all something before I go. So people will know, okay? Let's just get this straight once and for all. When y'all see those people keep hating on FBA, this is what delineate means, okay? Describe or portray something precisely. It doesn't mean division. It means to describe or portray something precisely. That's what it means. It doesn't mean division. So when you describe or portray something precisely, then you tell these people from Nigeria, you call them Nigerians. You don't call them Africans. These people from Ethiopia, you call them Ethiopians. As a matter of fact, in Ethiopia, they want to be real precise. You Aroma, you Amara, you Tigrayan. So it's just a shame that people be tripping on foundational Black Americans when in Africa, they got 3,000 different tribes. You see how they just pick on us? In Africa, they got 3,000 different tribes. Why they don't tell them that they all need to call themselves Africans and they need to unite? Why don't Professor Smalls call them agents and go over there and tell them that they need to just be Africans? Why don't he shut up talking to us and go over there and tell the Africans that they need to all be Africans? Why don't he do that? Does anybody know why he won't do that? Why he worried about us, but he get Africans a pass? See how people do us? We got to call ourselves Africans, but Africans ain't even got to call themselves Africans. Can you imagine that? We supposed to be Africans. We supposed to call ourselves Africans, and we supposed to be looking for a unified Africa. And Africa ain't even looking for a unified Africa. They ain't even unified in Africa. He want us to unify with some people that's divided. Which Africans we unify with? Because they ain't unified themselves. So he out of line for this. You doggone right. You doggone right. They mad because they want to eat off our plate and they want to keep using us and they want to keep stealing our culture and they keep want to come take our money every time we establish money. They want to come to this country. They want us to fight in this country, Black power and Blacks to move around. Then they want to come over here off our blood, sweat, and tears and then stick their nose up in the air on the ones that made it possible for them to even come over here. And then you got people like Smalls on the side of the people's coming over and mistreating his people. And you don't see him tell them Africans to respect us none. They always want us to be the one showing the respect. Nobody ain't got to show us no respect. But Smalls is 80-something years old. It's time for him to sit down and shut up. He's outdated. It's time for him to sit down and shut up because he's outdated. And he ain't did nothing when he was out here. He's been a total failure. He's brought nothing to the black community worth a damn. And I'll tell him to his face. He's a nobody. He have not helped black people in this country, not a bit. He's got no legacy of helping in any kind of way. He ain't got no legacy like that. He definitely don't compare to me because I got thousands of people in this country eating better. Facts. We don't even deal with people like you, Prove Me. We don't deal with people like you. We don't deal with people like you. Moderators, prove me wrong on timeout till tomorrow. Cause I don't deal with people like you. People like you, I don't deal with them, bro. Not on the internet, not in real life. I would never be around you. I'm not trying to prove you nothing. I just want you to get out of here. Find somebody that want to listen to you. Because we're going to get our reparations. And you the type of person when you get our reparations, you'll be the first one smiling and grinning, trying to give us to give you some money or buy something from you. You phony. People like you be the first ones grinning in our face when we get our reparations. And if you're a foundational black American and you ain't trying to get reparations, you the one that's a disgrace. I don't know why you even talking to us. If you let them rob your ancestors and you talking about they ain't gonna never give me my ancestors stuff, just say that. I don't know why you brothers don't put it on yourself. Be like, they ain't gonna never say they not gonna never give you nothing. Stop speaking for me. If you weak, why can't brothers always say they ain't gonna never give us or y'all. They won't never say they ain't gonna never give me nothing. Why you don't never say that? Why you don't stand on it that they gonna punk you? Why you like they gonna punk us? No, they gonna punk you. Stop being negative and being a loser, talking about what ain't gonna happen and trying to put it on the rest of the group. That's a whole nother video. What's up with brothers want to talk about what we ain't gonna be able to accomplish? Ladies, if you got a man and he's saying they ain't gonna never give us reparations, you with a real weak man. And when things get hard, he gonna fold. You not with a go-getter. You with a weak man. It's a weak man that don't believe he can make people get what's owed to him. It's a weak man that don't acknowledge what's owed to him. And it's a weak man that let somebody rob his relatives back in the day when they was under servitude and poverty and slavery. And now they free and they don't want to go stand up for their people that couldn't stand up at that time. You weak. Somebody like this, I would never go around you. You could never come to my house. You could never come to no events. You could never be around me, ever. I would never deal with you. I would look at you as a total loser. You got no backbone. You're a disgrace to your people. You're a disgrace. If you're a black man, especially if you're a foundational black American, and you ain't standing up for reparations, you are a disgrace. When you look at the mirror, Remember what I said when you look in the mirror. You're a coward and you're a disgrace. Period. You're a disgrace. And your ancestors that suffered would be very disappointed in you. And that's a fact.